All right, so go ahead. Perfect. Yeah, I see your screen, so you can just go ahead and go into presentation mode, and I believe we're good to go. Good afternoon, everybody. I see that there's two registrants already online. Welcome. We'll give folks a minute or so more to get logged in and get their system set up. If you have any questions or having any issues accessing the session today, feel free to let me know. Send me a text message via the chat option of Zoom, and I'm happy to help you. We will begin in just a minute or two. Okay, just to be sensitive to the time today, let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for a new solutions webinar today. My name is Fernando, and I come with the Region 9 Head Start Association. I will be your webinar host today, so feel free to contact me via the chat option of Zoom with any logistical questions you may have regarding your audio, video, or any connection issues and setup that you may experience throughout the session today. This webinar will be recorded and will be made available for on-demand consumption after today. So just check back within 24 hours or so, and you will find the recording as well as other resources provided by the speaker up on our website at www.region9hsa.org. We also encourage your participation, so feel free to send us your questions via the Q&A option, or simply send us a chat message with your questions or any comments, and we'll do our best to address them as they come. We'll also, if time allows, at the very end, we'll address any questions that were not addressed during the presentation, or any comments we'll be happy to address those. So now it is my pleasure to introduce our topic for today, Pumper Car, a fun ride on toy that encourages inclusion, exercise, and focus. And our speaker today is Jamie Anderson. Thank you, and take it away, Jamie.
Hi, I'm Jamie Anderson, and hopefully everybody can hear me. I think you can. Okay, so I'll start with who am I and why am I here? I have a bachelor in early childhood education. My master's is in curriculum and instruction. I taught for 11 years, and 8 years of those were in kindergarten. And after my third baby, I resigned, and I'm currently a full-time mom of 4 kids, and I do still spend a lot of time in the school volunteering. And very part-time, I coordinate events for Pumper Car, which we'll learn a little bit about today. I love an opportunity to share what I find fascinating, so I'm excited to be here. I'll share today a few brain facts that I've found in my research, and we'll talk about how physical activity affects the learning process, and how can we include children of all abilities in physical activity. And then if I haven't addressed questions, we can do that at the end. When I first started teaching kindergarten, I attended a class at the National Association of Education for Young Children in Washington, D.C. on the importance of play, which really hit me, and how important it is developmentally for kids to play and get moving indoors and outdoors, and PE and recess, keeping those structured into the curriculum. When I was finishing my master's at Portland State University, I did my action research study on how purposeful movement affects student focus. And a few of the fun facts that I learned about the brain are that the brain uses 20% of the body's energy and oxygen, that physical exercise increases that oxygen to the brain. Physical exercise is still one of the best ways to stimulate the brain and learning. Physical activity is essential in promoting normal growth of mental function. So that was from the book Teaching with the Brain in Mind. So how does exercise affect focus and fundamentals and the learning in the classroom? So a book I read, a professor, after I presented my action research, one of my professors recommended that I read the book Spark by John Ratey, and it goes into a lot of the actual brain research behind how exercise affects our learning and so many other things. He said, the real reason we feel so good when we get our blood pumping is that it makes the brain function at its best. I often tell my patients that the point of exercise is to build and condition the brain. He starts out in the first few chapters of his book talking about a study in Naperville a school district in Illinois. And he talks about this PE teacher in the 90s who pretty much revolutionized PE. He began teaching fitness instead of just sports. He put a focus on students' personal best and started using heart monitors. And the kids who used their heart monitors, he graded them on whether they could keep their hearts at their target heart rate during a certain activity that they were doing. And then he started running the mile every week, and they would get a grade up if they got a personal best. So he really began focusing on fitness more than anything. What they saw in the school system is that those students began improving in their classrooms. So they did a study within the school that took, at Naperville Central High School, they took a group of students who were struggling in literacy, and half of those students attended 0-hour PE, which they later called fitness or learning readiness PE, and the other half took regular PE. And the students who took regular PE from that literacy class improved 10% in that class over that time. And the students who took learning readiness PE improved 17%. So guidance counselors started recommending that the students take their hardest class right after learning readiness PE, or any PE, but they implemented learning readiness PE, and then it was a movement that spread throughout Naperville School District. So after some years, they made some of the most fit kids in the nation in this school district because their focus was fitness, and they knew how it affected learning. So one of the other tests, they had the 8th graders. There's a test called TIMSS. It's the Trend in International Math and Science Study. And they had the 8th graders in the district. 97% of the 8th graders took this test. And usually the United States doesn't get anywhere near the top. And when Naperville took this test, their district of 8th graders got 1st place in science in the world, and then 6th place in math in this international test. So the results were pretty much amazing. And what the PE teacher, and the last quote I forgot to read, but he said, what we're trying to do here is jumpstart their brain. So they did their job. And I read an article also, a separate article on ABC News about this same school district. At the University of Illinois, Dr. Charles Hillman's research shows that after a 30-minute stint on the treadmill, students actually do up to 10% better at problem solving. It's good for attention, it's good for how fast individuals process information, and how they perform on cognitive tasks, says Hillman. At Naperville, the test results are astounding. Reading scores are up nearly twice as much. Math scores are up by a factor of 20. And this is because of their fitness program. John Ratey says, exercise provides an unparalleled stimulus, creating an environment in which the brain is ready, willing, and able to learn. Moving our muscles produces proteins that travel through the bloodstream and into the brain, where they play pivotal roles in the mechanism of our highest thought processes. And he calls this miracle grow for the brain. In an article called 6 Benefits of the Miracle Drug Called Exercise that I read on everydayhealth.com, Dr. Mark Tarnopolsky, he's a genetic metabolic neurologist, said, if there were a drug that could do for human health everything that exercise can, it would likely be the most valuable pharmaceutical ever developed. So we come to inclusion. All children need a chance to get their heart racing. And how can we include everyone, all children, in physical activity? Unfortunately, actionforhealthykids.org says, unfortunately, children and youth with special needs are often overlooked or systematically excluded when school physical activities are planned and implemented. Usually this is not due to intentional efforts to exclude or ignore. Sometimes there are many reasons, sometimes just lack of resources or no ideas. And I'm going to introduce you to Madeline, a young girl. She has cerebral palsy, and she's usually wheelchair bound. And she'll be introducing us to the pumper car in this next video.
Here comes Madeline. All right, Madeline.
Hey, Jamie. We're getting some messages regarding the no sound on the video. Would you mind pausing it? Yeah, I'm not getting any sound on my end either. Is it playing on your end? Is anybody else experiencing no sound on the video?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, yes.
Okay.
Okay, let's go ahead and...
Should I rewind or just leave it?
Yeah, let's go ahead and start it from the beginning. I'm not sure if the fact that you muted your microphone, I don't know if I had...
Oh, that could have been.
Yeah, so let's try it. I had a few folks message me with no sound, but let's try this.
Let's try it. Let's see if it...
Oh, there it is. Yeah, let's go ahead and leave the mic on.
Okay.
All right, Madeline, you ready for this?
Let me know if people are still not able to hear the video.
Brakes on. All right. You ready? Yeah. Okay.
Oops.
Okay. So I'm gonna try to get behind you, Madeline. Yeah. It's.
Oops.
What do you call it? A vehicle. Or other than it was a tricycle when she was little with adaptive pedals and a back. So this is, she's secure and she's independent. Gotta keep going. Going great. I know that she's excited about that. But I think she knows her situation. But that's why she's so excited to come here every Wednesday to get to ride on it. And lately, that's all she's wanted to do at therapy. really great workout for her. All right.
Right there.
Woo! Nate, turn it, Natty. Hard. Push good, Natty. Nice. You say when you need a break.
I don't need one.
You don't need one? What? I really like this for you because it really helps you build all your upper body strength. And I really like how she gets range of motion in her legs, and it's building her coordination. She has to turn and maneuver it, and she just works harder with it than when she's working on just straight exercise. It gets a little boring, just,
It's fun.
Yeah, so what do you see and what do you like about
It's
this?
the first thing I've seen lately that she can use.
Yeah.
And that's fun. It's not, there's no extra equipment, that's needed.
Mhm.
And like you said, it helps with her arms and her legs.
It gives her a lot of mobility to and the freedom to go,
And
which
she's
is,
independent
yeah,
while she's on it.
it's great to see her so happy and having fun while she's getting a workout with her arms and legs.
There, you ready?
Yeah.
It'd be a benefit for SIS classes to have it. And every pediatric therapy office. I don't know if they do or not, but I think it would be beneficial. Especially, I know she's got a few in her this therapy here that have very physical needs like she does. And I think they all end up loving to ride the car.
So hopefully the volume turned back on. I tried to click on the comments but it started pausing the video. So I stopped. So hopefully people were able to hear. So I'll move forward. Motivating typically developing children and children with special needs to exercise. The University of Michigan published an institutional review board study in the Research Quarterly for Exercise and Sport in 2015. And they had used pumper cars in their study. So the purpose of this feasibility study was to provide an opportunity to increase physical activity and heart rate for children with Down syndrome during unstructured group exercise utilizing a riding device called the pumper car. So they contacted us and informed the company that they had published this study. So we were interested in seeing the results and what they had, why they had done this study. So as you can see, there's plenty of data and analysis in the actual study, and I could take the time to read through it because the information is very informative on how children with Down syndrome, as well as typically developing children, benefited. But if I did that, this might happen on the other end. So instead, I will just kind of jump to some of the results that they found. The summary. When children with Down syndrome use the pumper car over other equipment available, their intensity and duration of exercise increased 182%. When typically developing children use the pumper car and over other equipment available, their intensity and duration of exercise increased 230%. So the results were pretty amazing. Their conclusion stated, based on the results of this initial investigation, therapists and educators should feel confident that the pumper car provides an excellent method to safely increase physical activity in children aged 5 to 7 years old who have Down syndrome, especially when performed in an inclusive setting. So we found fitness motivates the duration of physical activity. So when you have fitness and fun, it equals longer duration of exercise. When I taught kindergarten, I taught in an inclusive district, and I always, every year usually I had a child with autism in my classroom. And if they needed a break, we had 2 pumper cars at our school, and I would have their aide take them down and ride the pumper car up and down the hallway for a while and they were somehow able to come back and focus a lot better afterward. And one of the quotes I found in actionforhealthykids.org says, "We often think of autism as mostly affecting social skills and the ability to communicate, but it can have implications for physical health and activity as well. But for some reason, my kids with autism loved the pumper car. When we went to, it was a national conference on autism. I went with the pumper car and the company, and Temple Grandin was there, and she has autism. She's an older woman, and she was the keynote speaker, and she rode the pumper car, and I asked her why,
you steer,
she liked the pumper car.
reach way out there, reach really far. There you go. Now the brakes on your left.
She said, "The pumper car is a fun way to get a burst of hard exercise. I know from trying it." That's me talking to her. And I asked her why my students with autism did so well after they rode it. And she said, it's because they need a burst of hard exercise. She said she gets her burst of hard exercise by doing 100 sit-ups. But she said the pumper car is a fun way to get a short burst of hard exercise. I know from trying it. And she told me to go home and look it up. So I went home and I researched it a little bit, and medicalexpress.com said, "A new study has found that short bursts of intensive exercise boosts children's brain power and has benefits for children with learning difficulties or conditions such as autism." I had a little girl in my class who had very severe ADHD, and she sometimes couldn't quite get control over her body enough to be able to sit and learn, and I did the same. I ended up doing the same thing with her. I would have her ride the pumper car for a while, and she was able to come back and focus for a period of time. So what is the pumper car? It's the ride that empowers children of all abilities. It's safe and durable. It levels the playing field for children with special needs because they can ride right alongside their typically developing peers. And I have a video of a woman who, she's the director for Head Start, and she kind of tells how she uses her pumper car juniors, it's the smaller size, in her centers.
We have little trikes and little cars that don't have wheels. They just scooch them around. And a couple of our sites have a little bit of uphill terrain on them in the backyards where we have the open spaces that we have. And so it's hard.
Let's see.
Goal. Some of our other centers have the pumper car, and so when we heard about them, I asked around to see if anybody else had used them, what they thought about them. And they said their kids liked them, they were durable, they didn't have any complaints about them. So then we invested in for our region, for our 5 sites, and bought them. It looked more accessible for the children with the way it was both using their hands and feet. Some of our kids, we like them to use it because it is a good cardio workout, and I think it does help build stamina for some of our kids who are a little weaker. They may not have the chest muscles to push, pull, so it helps them build up their strength as they use it. Some of our little tiny ones have to work a little bit at it, but I see progress in their strength as they use it more, and we encourage them. Pull.
Should start up again, I think.
than the trike that they can only use their legs for. But we give them the choice. They have the choice of trikes or the pumper car, and I think they choose the pumper car more.
All right, we made it through the last video. So how can you integrate your knowledge of the physical activity into your own work with your kids and with your family? And if you have questions, I'll try to answer them. And I'll move this onto the next screen because there is a discount code for coming to the webinar and it's good until July 31st this year. So it's $15 off the pumper car. And if you want to know any more about the pumper car, you can go to pumpercar.com. Okay, let's see if I can click on if anybody has any questions or comments. Okay, oh good. Well, I see that it works. So if I'll give another minute or 30 seconds or so, and if there's no questions, then I guess we can end.
Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a few minutes before the end of the session. So if you have any questions for Jamie or any comments you want to showcase for everybody to see, hover over to the Q&A option. You can send us your comments and questions that way, or you can use the chat option of Zoom and just send us your questions that way. While we wait, give folks a few minutes here and there, I just want to thank Jamie again for the wonderful presentation. I would like to also remind all of you that the session will be recorded and will be made available on demand for anybody who wasn't able to join, as well as someone who wants to revisit certain information. Jamie has a list of resources that she also would like to make available for all of you in the form of articles and perhaps the videos that were played. So we'll have those linked up to our website as well, together with the webinar recording, which should be available within 48 hours at the most. So let me hover over. It doesn't look like there's any questions or any messages standing. So again, I'd like to thank everybody who took the time out of their day to join us today. Our presenter, Jamie, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge on this topic. And we hope to see all of you on our next webinar session. And again, look forward to the recording up on our web within 24 hours or so. Thanks again, Jamie, and thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for having me.